Welcome into the Invest Well Show. I'm your host, Michael Wall. Listen, I want to talk to you about something on the show today that many of you have worked years and years and years to develop. You're in a place where you have a practice, maybe a veterinarian, a dental, or some type of behavioral health practice. So this is specific, niche in nature, or maybe just some other type of business that you've developed. And you're in a place where you're saying, you know what, I've put my life, really, into building what I have here. Years and years of development, all the things that people don't see on the shop floor at late at night, early in the morning, if you will. And you're in a place where you're saying, you know what, I don't think I can do this anymore. And I'm worried about getting out. And am I going to really get quality valuation if I sell? What do I do? How does this work? What does it look like? You spend a lot of time working on your business, but not really working in your business. Or let me say it the other way. You've worked in your business and not on your business. That's really the correct thing to say. I apologize. I'm not perfect, and neither are you. But what we know is when we get the right information, we can make good decisions. So today on the Invest Well Show, I got a great guy. He's been a friend of the firm for years, a friend of ours for a year. Brian Wine is his name. He's the owner and CEO of the Wine Group, and they focus specifically on helping companies liquidate well, helping companies position well, helping companies not only from the real estate side, what to do with that, but also on the practice management side, what to do with that, how to improve. And I just wanted to take a minute here because not only have we done some things together business-wise, but we've just really seen the value that he's brought the many, many people over the years. So, Brian, thanks for taking a minute to join us here. I know you went and you got off your surfboard, then you got on the skateboard. I'm kidding. Thanks for joining us, man.
Appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. So let's talk about this. You've been in this space for quite a while now.
Quite a while.
And really started in the real estate side. You've kind of become an expert there. You've done a lot of great things, done a lot of real estate investing yourself personally. And from that, you've just seen a huge need to transition over into the practice management side. You've brought some best of brokers to be part of your team that have done a great job real estate, now helping companies. But what I want to start with is, why do you think it's so challenging? Because, you hear it all the time. And there's horror stories, by the way. You got people that are out there that are selling their companies, and they're selling it to maybe a certain PE company, and maybe they're buying the company with primarily all debt, and they're in a place where interest rates change, and that delays their payout, or all of these kind of moving parts that the person that maybe has a dental practice or a veterinarian practice or whatever it may be, company, just doesn't have context around in the beginning. And so now they're in a place where they've signed the contract, they're in the deal, and they're kind of like, what do I do now? So part of the goal here was to have a conversation around, as they're preparing to sell their business, someone's preparing to sell their business, I want to talk about some of the pitfalls there. And you've been doing this for quite a while now. So let's start with that. What are some of the things that you see now that are real challenges for folks that are looking to sell their practice?
I mean, a lot of doctors come out and they get that first call from a broker and or a consolidator, private equity money. And, at times they think that first touch is the person they should be working with. Oh, this person said this. And there's no clear data that person is the right fit for them. They don't actually give, good advice. So almost automatically at the beginning, it's all about that. It's, hey, I spoke to this guy and he told me this.
Well, and I think it kind of causes them to feel, because again, these people are working, 8, 10, 12-hour days for
in the business.
In the business for a long time.
Correct.
And so it almost feels like, finally the parachute's here.
Someone's here, release me from this problem or
from
pain.
my prison.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
So however we get in, we talk to them, and we actually more so find out what their goals are. What are they really looking for? How do we get them around these problems to the right partnership? And
do you find it's challenging to get these folks, men, women, to slow down enough to really have the conversation?
Yeah, I mean, they're so focused on the everyday, day-to-day business, and it's really hard to pull away. I mean, why do people sell in the first place outside of the pain problems? I mean, most people, they really enjoy the surgery and or whatever the main doc's doing, if it's a ownership that's owned by doctors. They want to just do that. They don't want to do management. They don't want to deal with employees, payroll, all those sort of things.
They want to do their specialty, not run a company.
Correct. And so, it's finding ways to work with the right people and really understanding what they're looking for, and then finding the right partnership.
Yeah.
So that's really what we're looking for.
And when you connect with these guys, what is typically the process, or what have you seen? You come in, you've probably seen where you come in and you see a lot of people that have gone through bad situations.
Really bad partnerships.
Let's talk about that for a minute. Like, what are some of the things that you've seen that's kind of like, oh my gosh, this was horrible. I don't know how this happened. And then you've kind of helped them in the process.
I mean, sometimes they're going down a route where they're not really getting the value. First off, we look at the valuation. We look at the numbers, see where they're at on everything. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we'll even visit the practice. Depends on the opportunity and how busy they are. But most of the time we'll visit. We'll go check out their facility, check out the building, and then look at all the numbers and see what it's really worth in today's market. You know, every market's a little different, but some people already have an offer from a potential partnership where they're promising the world, but they don't actually have the funding to then close on it. Mm-hmm. So in that scenario, we come in and we say, let's review everything, and then let's go actually pitch it to all the big groups out there, and then let's go have the conversation with each group, not just the acquisitions team, but also the operators, the operations, the people you'll actually be speaking to on an everyday level. Uh-huh. Most brokers, they just want the highest dollar amount thrown to you to get you out.
Because it makes them look good and they make the most money.
Correct. And, it's a commission percentage.
Yeah.
And the deal really should be, where is the client going to feel the best treated, the right partner? It's not just the money. It's who's going to treat my employees properly.
Yeah.
The payroll, are we firing the whole staff? Because most private equity, they want as much money as possible.
Right. They want to slim it down.
And then make more EBITDA.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different ways to look at it. But yeah.
So let me ask you this question in that note. So if somebody's out there and they're looking or they're thinking about selling their practice, right? They're thinking about selling their practice. And they're like, you know what, I got maybe 5 years left, I got 10 years left, I got 2 years left. In your opinion, on a time scale, when does someone need to actually start thinking about, when, okay, now I need to sit down with somebody to really start to evaluate? Is it 5 years out? Is it 3 years out? Is it 2 years out? Is it 10 years? What are your thoughts there?
I mean, I used to say, is it 5 years? Is it 10 years? I don't think that way anymore. I think every year you should take do you get blood work for your body?
Right.
Every year?
Yeah.
Is it every year?
Check up.
You check up every year?
Yeah.
Is it twice a year?
Right.
I mean, you check in, right?
Yeah. How's things going?
Yeah, so why not go to every broker that you know, or the right broker if you think that broker's the right guy, or maybe it's a consultant or whoever it may be. Go get your practice evaluated.
Okay.
On every level. Do it once a year. Mm-hmm. And if they're not willing to do it for free for you, then maybe they're not the right fit.
They're not willing to put the work in, yeah.
Correct. I mean, it's just a free service we provide, but I think other brokers should provide it, and then go check it out. See what the numbers are today. Obviously, the market we're in right now, the rates are extremely high, so it affects your value. Obviously, lower rate, you know this, obviously, to the viewers. Lower rate, higher price typically. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the markets we're in today, they're still a great market. Real estate's really affected. Mm-hmm. Practice transition, not so much. Mm-hmm. So I'd say look at it every year or every couple years. I personally would, based on your transition timing. So most of these groups, if you sell to a corporation or private equity backed, they're going to want you on 2 to 5 years. Wow. Depending on what niche vertical we're in. Let's say vet, it's probably 2 to 3. Uh-huh. And then if it's dental, I'd say 3 to 5, maybe even 6. And the longer the better, because then you can get more in return.
Okay.
They want you. I mean, as a doctor, that's the hardest
labor
you're the
to come
brand.
by.
Correct. The brand, the founder, the creator.
Yeah.
Without you, the production's going to come down, and it's really hard to come by doctors these days. There's a lot less doctors in vet than there ever has been.
Yeah.
In dental, I feel like it's very similar. Mm-hmm. So it's a little different game. Obviously, the labor around it, still hard to find, but they're a lot easier to recruit for.
So let's talk about this. So somebody's in a place where they're saying, okay, I get it. Brian, when you talk about getting a checkup, we call it get a checkup from the neck up, right? Get the checkup for your business. Where are we at? Where's the valuation? And quite honestly, just from that, you're going to create efficiencies that come out of it. It's just going to improve your practice.
I mean, why not?
Why not?
Why not let people look at it? Maybe they see 1 or 2 items that can actually improve your value, and then you can work on it.
So here's the scary thing, though, right? You're in your business, you're running in your business, you're going 1,000,000 miles an hour. You know what you do in a lot of ways, and obviously, a lot of times you don't know what you don't know, which is important. But the fearful part is you're literally kind of financially getting naked in front of somebody that you just don't know. And you may have someone, we talk about this a lot in the wealth space with our other hats, that, business is business and friends are friends. Just because you're operating with somebody that's a friend doesn't mean they're the best person to actually help you in your business. So here's my question for you, Brian. When you take a look at actually evaluating a practice and finding the correct, we'll call it broker to do that, what are maybe 2 or 3 things that, these business owners need to be thinking about? Like if they had a checklist of like, all right, these are 3 things that I need to be thinking about, that if I'm going to go shop for someone to help me evaluate my company, because the worst thing that could happen is they go and they get this yearly evaluation and then they go and sell, but they're doing it with somebody that's primarily maybe got one PE company in their bed and that's primarily it. They're not really shopping it correctly. They're not really looking at all the details necessary to maximize that transition well. And then all of a sudden they get their capital, they sold it, and after the fact, it's like they're all in and this sucks. So at the beginning, kind of begin with the end in mind, what do these business owners need to do to at least have somewhat of a gauge to evaluate, how do I find a quality broker?
I mean, at the end of the day, everyone out there is pitching their best to win your business. So ultimately, at the end of the day, I'd say if your gut doesn't feel right, you feel like for some reason, I know that's not answering your question, but if for whatever reason that guy or that woman's not the fit because they keep just trying to sell you, I always say, go interview with a bunch of them. Go check out everyone's style. Ask them, how are you going to sell this? What is the value add here? Why mine and why not the guy down the road? What's your story? How are you going to pitch this to other brokers? And if the broker comes out and says, oh, it's just, I've got this one great client. One great client?
Yeah.
No, I want everyone to see my practice and/or real estate.
Right.
Everyone should see it. If they're just hoarding the deal and aren't willing to work with others, it's kind of a red flag.
Well, and you mentioned earlier off air about the idea of a practice that you were just interacting with and they were looking to potentially sell or whatever, and they had the real estate, and you said, why don't we do it this way? Why don't we think about renegotiating your lease? I can come in and help you with that. And why don't we kind of make some of these terms a little bit more appealing to you long term, and then it takes some of the pressure off daily, which allows you the ability to kind of really have more decisions. And I think that's where I was going there when I saw that, Brian, is the idea of like, not just what you're doing, but any other broker that's doing a great job, being in a place where you say, how do I find someone that really is out of the box thinking and not just tunnel visioned in a lot of ways? We call it the plain vanilla portfolios on the private wealth side of life, right? Whereas a lot of these big, massive companies, again, me wearing my other hats in other firms, are in a place where we see the folks come in and they're in a place where their portfolios are just, kind of set it and forget it. The old Ron Popeil approach, we call it, right? Just set it and forget it. Instead of like, wait a minute, let's think about this. Let's think about why has there been $13 trillion that have literally moved off the stock market and moved into other alternative type of investments, which is a big lane that we play in. And so when it comes to, I think what you're saying about liquidating a company, it's about the idea of saying, okay, let me step back and evaluate what is the process that this person is going to take me through? How do they see it? What does it look like? Not just the top dollar.
There's also way more to this. I mean, a lot of brokers are just looking at the sale. I also think you should be speaking to your financial wealth manager, your financial planner, your CPA. I mean, there's a lot of smart people in your corner currently. It's bringing everyone together and talking about the ideas. Okay, so if I do sell, where are we going with this?
Yeah.
The money has to go somewhere else. If it's, hey, I just am going to sell and we're done, I'm out, and I have a check, well, that doesn't really help you long term.
Yeah, especially if they're in a place where there's no real tax planning on that liquidation price. So what if you get another $1 million or $2 million or $10 million or whatever the number is, but when you liquidate,
if you don't know where to put it, then there is no point of this process. I mean, we're going through a deal right now where there's a bunch of debt on the real estate, or actually on the business. And some of the cash payout doesn't really cover enough. There's commissions, there's lawyer fees, there's closing costs, there's taxes. And if you're selling and you're negative netting, is it really worth it?
Yeah. No, and it may not be. And that's exactly one of the reasons that I kind of wanted to take a minute. I didn't want to do a super long show here, but I wanted to do a quick show because Brian, again, from the Wine Group, great guy. We've known him for several years. They've done a great job in this space. And it's something where we're seeing more and more and more folks are looking to liquidate or sell their companies for a variety of different reasons, and they don't know what to do or where to go. And so I want to give you this second to last word here, Brian, but I want to ask you this thought, and that is, if someone is out there watching this right now, and they maybe had an offer or two on the table, they hadn't signed anything on the dotted line, but there's a few things that they're looking at, what would be one piece of advice that you would give to them in their process? I'm kind of putting you on the spot here, but what's one piece of advice you would give to them?
Yeah, you're definitely putting me on the spot. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, there's a couple of things. Like, it's, hey, has every buyer actually looked at this? Or am I just going to two shops that are saying something, something? I think when there's more competition, it makes people pay a little bit more, but it's not always about the pay. I would say talking to the operators, like, who's going to be your direct boss? Is it the salesman that pitched this deal to you? Because I guarantee it won't be.
Right.
And what if your direct boss is someone you hate and do not want to work with?
Yeah.
Because then what is the purpose of selling the business that you've worked so hard for?
Yeah. And what's their value stack? Your new direct boss. What do they care about? What runs their life? What's priority to them?
What's
right?
important to them, and how do you guys work together? I'd say doing like a one-on-one with them, or even flying out to their headquarters, which some of these groups do. I definitely look at that. I mean, you could go work with a broker like us. I mean, there's a lot of different things you can do. It just depends on what you're truly looking for.
Yeah, I really think that's important. And, I don't think a lot of people think about that is the fact that, they think about like, hey, I only got 2 years left or 3 years left or 5 years left or whatever it is, and I can handle it. Whatever it is, I can handle it, I'll be good. But you didn't build your own company to then sell the company to work for somebody that you don't like. And now you're like the next 2-3 years in this horrible period of time. And it's just like, let's think about that in advance. So, Brian, I just want to say thank you for taking a little bit of time to share some of your thoughts. I know you've seen a lot of great things in this space on the show.
Yeah, really appreciate you having me. And again, I mean, you get one shot at this, one shot.
Yeah.
Just like you were saying off air to me, you live one life.
Yeah.
And we worked so hard to get to this point. So why wouldn't you just take a little bit more time, spend the time figuring out, is this the right strategy, the right group I want to work with, and then go from there. Yeah. But thank you again for having me. I really appreciate the time.
Absolutely. So there you go. You've built your baby. Right? Maybe you've built your baby. Maybe you're listening to this and you're like, I don't have a company, Mike. I haven't built a company. Well, you may know somebody that does, and it doesn't really matter where they live or where they're at in the U.S., but the reality of it is, the question is, are we really taking the time to maximize the transition of everything that you've put your life into? This is your life's work. Maximize it well. And again, I wanted to take a minute on this show and talk about this because this is something that we see a lot of times in, again, other hats, other companies that I have, where people are coming in and maybe they're in a situation where they didn't get the monies that they were promised, or it's more of a complicated process than they thought, or it's delayed, or it just was a mess and they don't know how to unwind it, and then you got to get attorneys involved. I mean, it's so much better to slow down. Turn your phone off. Relax, get your white sheet of paper out, and write down the things that are important to you after your sale and the things that are important to you during your sale. And if you want a great guy, the Wine Group, Brian is a great guy that you can reach out to. There's a lot of other folks out there as well. But, just be in a situation where you are making sure that you're getting all of the value that you deserve for everything you've put the time and effort and energy into. All right, be blessed. Share this show with someone that needs to hear it, and we'll talk to you soon. See you guys.